Hi, this is Dan Smith of DPS Legal Counsel, and welcome to today's video where I'm going to be talking to businesses that are franchised. If you are a franchisee of a franchise network, a franchise company, this video is for you. Several years ago, during the previous presidential administration, during the Obama administration, there was a controversial position that was being taken by the federal government. Essentially, I think it was the National Labor Relations Board, that a franchise company, a franchisor, might be viewed as a joint employer with a franchisee with respect to employment issues that would arise in the franchisee's business. For example, if you had an issue dealing with unfair labor practices being done by a particular franchised business, even though that was an independent business and not owned by the franchise company, there was a position that was being taken by the government that the franchise company was in effect a joint employer of that person, and therefore could be held responsible legally for the unfair labor practice. That was very controversial. It caused a lot of heartburn among franchisees and franchisors, particularly franchisors who knew and recognized that the employees of their franchisees were not their employees. They hadn't hired them, they don't pay them, all of those things, but still the government was looking to take a position that employment issues could come back to haunt the franchisor. Well, just I think yesterday, January the 13th, 2020, the Department of Labor, the U.S. Department of Labor, released a final rule which will go into effect, I think, in 90 days, which essentially makes clear that the joint employer problem that occurred during the Obama administration with the position that was taken by the NLRB is no longer going to be a problem, not going to be the case, so that franchisors don't have to be concerned about being treated as a joint employer of the employees of their franchisees. The rule looks at, the proposed rule, it's actually a final rule that will go into effect in 90 days, looks at four things and weighs them and it based on the circumstances of each case to determine if there is a joint employer relationship that would be imposed on. It could be a franchisor or in a subcontractor situation or in a licensing situation. And the four things that it will look at are whether that other company that's not the direct employer, that let's say in our example the franchise company or the franchisor, whether that franchisor hired or fired the employees. That's typically, or maybe always, not going to be the case with a franchisor. Second, whether the franchisor has supervision or control over the employees and the manner of their doing their work. Typically, that's not going to be the case either. Third, whether the franchisor sets the method and amount of payment for the employees. That's not going to typically be the case either. Those are going to be set by the franchisee, the company that's actually operating the business. And fourth, whether the franchisor maintains employment records for the employees of the franchisee. Again, that's typically not going to be the case. So if you look at all those four issues or those four factors that are set forth in this new rule, it appears that there's going to be a lot less concern by franchisors that they're going to be held liable as a joint employer of the employees of their franchisees. This is great news for franchising in general, for franchisors particularly. It also gives a lot of certainty to franchisees that their franchisors are not going to be treated as a joint employer with them with respect to their employees. So I hope this helps. With any questions you might have about franchising, check out my website, dpslegalcounsel.com. If you have any questions about franchising, franchisee relationships, or anything else of that type related to business operations of small businesses, please feel free to reach out, get in touch, let me know if I can help with anything. All right, I hope that helps. We'll see you next time on our video series of dpslegalcounsel.com.